I am S.A. Flynn, and I am with my co-host Wren Nightingale, and we are spotlighting Dan Bosner, right? Is that how you say your name?
Bonser.
Bonser.
It's one of those things.
Okay.
It's like I think it shows like the ADHD of switching the N and the S no matter what. Even it's funny whenever it happens, and some people like hear it and they still just keep going. And I'm like, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. My daughter's name is Gabriella, and everyone calls her Gabrielle or Gabriella. And I'm like, yeah, we'll just go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we are with the author Sesh Corner, and you are our spotlight author today, obviously. Sorry that we pushed you off a month, but we've had a lot of things go on, but we're happy to be here now.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like the it's better, I guess, to have it probably post-release of the book. But even though it's just been like a marathon of me doing like little things, trying to jump on people's lives and talk about it and stuff. So I'm like exhausted, but I'm still having fun.
Yeah. These things can get pretty fun. So I don't. All right. So do you want to tell us a little about yourself?
All right. So I am Dan. A long time ago, I decided to write a book. And I knew it was going to be a series, and then life got in the way, but I still pushed out the first one. And that was about a decade ago. I wrote it in between classes, and I don't know, the story of writing it is really fun in and of itself. And then said life got in the way, and I finally was able to get back to writing again. And so I pushed the second book, really, 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 really fun, really hard. I got on TikTok. I've been making friends and community and all sorts of fun stuff. And so, yeah, it's just been a roller coaster ride of that. I write fantasy. Let me think, kind of a hardcore feminist. And it's a unique fantasy where it is very character centric. And I know it starts, I get into more world building in book 2, but the main thing was like, I wanted to make sure it was very character centric, which is, it's actually more sword and sorcery fantasy than epic, but it does star a 100-plus-year-old elf. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I
was
write
one of those
fantasy
things.
myself.
Yeah, I like just about any genre I can get a hold of, as long as I can relate to the characters or fall in love with the characters, or, just become friends with the characters. I want it all. I tend to remember character names more than I do book names. And that's what I wanted to kind of capture whenever I came out with my own writing, was I want people to really, really, really go for this character, or at least one of the characters along the way.
So I know you said that it took you a while to start the book, or at least to get it published, but when did you actually start writing? Like, how old were you when you were like, you know what, I'm going to start writing some things down?
Younger than I can possibly remember. My mom kept like things from elementary school somewhere, where she often laughed because she was as young as I was. I can't remember. It was like a purple alien with 4 arms and all sorts of stuff. And I remember Mom being proud of my creativity, because whenever he had to ride a horse in space, the horse had to have a spacesuit.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a wild journey. So yeah, I've been writing like forever, and I always loved like characters and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I've had a few failed attempts at novels along the way, but this one was just to get into the story of it. This one was like I used to play MMOs a lot, and I ended up like creating the character on an MMO server that was really big in roleplay. And so these people, I got on, and these people had like, their characters were set, huge backstories. They lived in this world. And then there were people that were setting up bars that they would open up every night, and people would show up at the bars every single night and role play their characters. And there was a stage, and I was like, do people play songs on that stage? And some people were like, oh yeah, you know, one or two. And a lot of times they were like parody songs. You know, you'd take like a real life song, change it to the world, and then throw it in there. And then, but at the time I was a poet. I loved writing poetry. I still do. I've got a lot of poetry under my belt. And I was just like, well, what if I just create a whole bunch of original stuff, and can I do a full set? And they're like, sure, why not? And next thing I know, like, people would show up to read my poetry, and people liked it enough that they had favorites. And so I would get requests. And once I left that world, I couldn't leave the character behind. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the generation of it. the gestation
that's
of how it all
totally
went.
how I felt too. Yeah, because like I think it really helps too with like fantasy in general. Like once you have that character is going to evolve throughout the years, and that's going to be your character.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, it was, especially whenever you have a character that's in a role play setting, and you can bounce it off other people. That was. I mean, the creation of that was just so much fun. To be able to go in and have that, and be in a community that still exists. I'm still friends with some of these people and hang out and like talk with them online. It's wild.
Oh, that's fun. I love that.
Yeah.
I think you briefly mentioned it, but what is the title of your book, and a little bit more about it? And you said it's a series, right?
Yeah, it's a series. The first one is, the series is called The Ballad of the Emerald Bard. The first one is called Opus 1, The Suite of Seduction, Lost Love, and Revenge. And number 2, which came out a week and a half ago now.
Oh, yeah, May.
Just like a couple weeks ago.
Remember.
This is
that's
Opus
pretty.
2. This is like the author, one of the author copies. So the text shows up better on the real one, but it's like the suite of Wolves, Poison, and Revelry.
And you said that one's book 1 or book 2?
That's 2.
Book 2.
That's 2.
And this is 1, and you can tell the difference because they're slightly different.
Oh wow! And that spine is gorgeous too.
Yeah, I had fun with it. I mean, even like it carries over to the back where I had some fun with it. Yeah, the fun stuff is like, so since this is like about a bard, I go hard into the music trope. So every book is 3 stories. So this right here is her symbol, which is actually a symbol on her axe. Anyways, every story starts with this page, and then every chapter starts with this kind of idea. And then all the chapters are called movements. And in book 2, considering more characters get POVs, you get character art of who's got that POV at the time.
Oh my goodness, that's so
cool.
cute.
And is your illustrator here too, the Abby?
Abby is, yes, she is. Yeah, she did. Let me grab one of the good books, because it said that one doesn't feature her art.
Well, shout out to you. It's lovely work. That is so cool.
Yeah, so Abby is, so whenever I did, for the cover, you can see the font is better on this one. So this character here carries most of the POV in book 2, where this is the main character. This is the Emerald Bard. Okay. And so Abby got to draw Alusha here, but she also got to draw the wolf form.
Oh,
because
cute.
if you look at Alusha,
that's awesome.
Let me get the crazy big pictures. So if you look at Alusha, she's got a wolf cloak, and she pulls that wolf cowl over her head and becomes this.
Wow.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And so it was one of those things. It's like I will forever be like, hey, you need to get artists. You need to get all sorts of fun stuff, because I said, I have like what Alusha should look like, all this other stuff. And so I was like, yeah, so she was able to draw Alusha doing a side eye. It's hard to see in the picture, but the wolf is doing the side eye as well.
Oh, yeah.
It has sapphires as eyes. And then, of course, the muzzles or the face is the same.
Oh yeah.
And then the other fun thing is just to have the artist's touch. So you got the symbol that starts the stories. This is really hard to do. So you can see how that symbol starts the story. Mm-hmm. You can kind of see how she used it as the basis of the wolf.
Oh, I do see it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the thing is like, what you get whenever you use real artists is some kind of style or some kind of inflection that is deeper meaning. And I absolutely love it. It's like the cover artist. I mean, I had issues with him on the second cover, but if you look at this one, it's completely built to be, she's looking off at the sunrise. Mm-hmm. And so it's the golden hour. You've got leaves flying by because it's symbolizing the start of her journey.
Mm.
And so, yeah, and so it's just fun. And yeah, Abby has been a huge supporter. Said I was actually having problems with my artists early on whenever I was trying to get book 2 done. And the interior artist was more along the lines of she was having personal issues in her real life, and I didn't know, and I was pushing her going, you can totally do the art, and she's going, and so we had the communication. She's real good friend. She actually did that blade art. So she did that, and she made the art for using this as a axe blade, which is actually right here on the cover.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You can actually see it hanging from her belt here. But anyways, the idea was I wanted her to do some interior art because I was, wanting her to get going, and then she was falling apart. My artist was falling apart, and then one of the guys I knew here on TikTok was like, you know what? I'm just going to get you 3 pieces of art because I want to read book 2. And so he did. And then whenever he gave them to me, he didn't spend long. He spent like 2 hours making 3 pieces of art. And he said, if you want to do them better, find someone who can do it. And so that's where Abby came in. And yeah. And so now I've got like a lot of people's artwork in the book, and it's really proud about all of it.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, the stuff he did is right here. This is the one I kept from him.
Oh, that's cool.
Aw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's just all fun.
So as for your book, how did you choose your titles, and do they hold any significance to the books?
I mean, oh yeah, they're hugely significant. So obviously the Ballad of the Emerald Bard, it's just her full title. I mean, well, not her full title, but the title she goes by mostly is Elmendia Dokatal, the Emerald Bard. And so her story in this is like the ballad, and each one is an opus. A lot of it, there was actually some fun stuff about, I did all the researches into the names of different pieces of music and stuff. And so the opus is going to be 6 books long. And it really carries her through this really crazy arc that is almost impossible for me to even imagine right now, because it has a scale I don't understand, but I love it, and I can't wait to tell it. So people are going to go crazy because it's already got stuff in here that people are absolutely loving. But then you've got, so the first one is The Suite of Seduction, Lost Love, and Revenge. So all the books are going to be 3 shorter stories. So each word in that represents the stories that are inside. So the first book contains the Nocturne of the Deal at the Crossroads, a Symphony of Old Debts, and the Sonata of Buried Secrets.
Ooh.
So Seduction is the Nocturne at the Deal of the Crossroads. And anybody that read it knows there is what I've been calling non-traditional spice in it, because the idea is, I wrote a scene where, so she gets come on too hard by somebody. And it's happened in my life, but I'm a guy. I know it happens to women, and I know it's uncomfortable. And I took it way over the top. And a lot of it was just to make sure that the reader feels uncomfortable. The sad part is, the sad and funny part is, some people just absolutely love it anyways. But that's the idea. It was written to be uncomfortable as someone's trying to seduce someone else. And it goes spicy and wild. And then, of course, it gets really far into what they're talking about in the chat with spiders. Then the Symphony of Old Debts, that is Lost Love. She gets an old flame of hers comes back into her life and needs her for, to save a life, that kind of thing. And she does it because that's who she is. But it's still, it's the past, and she wants to keep it in the past. That's honestly my favorite story of book 2, or book 1, just because it kind of sets everything in the future in motion. And then Revenge, you got the Sonata of Buried Secrets. I always try to qualify that one with, she knowingly walks into a trap, and the bad guys find out why they should never underestimate the bard. And then, then you've got the suite of Wolves, Poison, and Revelry. The wolf one is kind of obvious because it's her story. That actually takes up more than half this book. Poison, the first story is the aria of Gods and Wolves, a prelude. And so I have the prelude in there because it's a backstory. The cantata of Quiet Venom, poison just fits it. There's a poisoning and it goes crazy. And then the third one, the Madrigal of Dissonance Beneath the Leaves, is done by Revelry, because there's a party kind of thing, a festival going on in her home city, the elf city, that's actually built up in the trees. Really dumb tall trees, like 5,000 feet tall.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's like I was inspired by Kashyyyk and elf cities and all sorts of stuff. So it was just, I went, being a biologist, I knew that some things were going to stretch the imagination, but there's other stuff in it that's like fun, scientific based stuff. Fun.
So Wren was able to catch one of the fan questions, and someone asked, if your book had a soundtrack, what song would you play during the climax?
In the end, it would be one of her songs. So that the joy of being a poet and writing poetry, she has, as of right now, around 50 poems that are canon to her. Some of them are historical, some of them are fun, some of them world building. But yeah, there's a lot of them in there that are just a lot. And so in the end, it's hard for me not to hear that kind of medieval lute playing and her singing over it, because she uses her music as magic that does things. And so there's she's singing in battle hymn while she's doing it. And that's my headcanon. Beyond that, I have a playlist I used to be over 2,000 songs, but then I kind of cut it down and trimmed it down to where I think it's only like 700 now.
Wow.
And a lot of it right now. Yeah. A lot of it right now is a lot I'm listening to is what's called Traumacore. It's women singing rage, very feminist sounding music. Things that, like, with titles you can't really say on TikTok.
Right.
If you ever get a chance, if you want to feel some feminine rage, like Delilah Bond's, what is it? Unalived Men Don't Grape. That is a song. I will sing that at the top of my lungs driving down the street, because it's an anthem. It's just like those kind of just it's such a good feeling right now to hear that kind of music and get it put out there. Yeah.
So the way you were describing that, I just have to put it in. Especially your bard. I'm a huge like musical fan. I love watching musicals, and I can just like see while your bard is fighting her singing. And if it were to ever become like a feature film or animation or whatever, I can just see it being a musical the whole way through, and I think that'd be so fun to watch.
I do as well. It was one of those things. I did it. I know that the first scene in Opus 1. The opening thing is her on stage singing a song. And I know that it's like, there's so many people and it's like, oh, what's your hook? How do you get people involved? What was the opening thing? Is it like, is it cliche or not? I'm like, no, it's literally her on stage singing a song, and you get everything you need to know about her in that moment, describing her, the song, the people around her, the venue, all of it. It's just so much fun. Yeah.
So we have a fan question. Have you ever considered attending a LARPing event as one of your characters, or looking for people to make your books into movies?
Oh, that would be fun to do a LARP. I would have to do, as big as I am, I would have to go as like one of the very few male characters who are all like half giants. Because I'm like 6'4". There's actually a pirate that I absolutely love that is in there. That's in Opus 2. He has a fun spicy scene. Who loves the a pirate spicy scene? I mean, yeah. The problem is he's got a great big floppy hat and a meter long feather. I don't know how well I'd pull that off.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually like it's such a joke in the story, because all the girls make fun of him, and it's like always his silly hat and all sorts of stuff. It's even there's a sea shanty where specifically it's like there's a line, it's like his floppy hat visible all through the night. It's just
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as movies go, oh man, I'd go crazy.
I know there's another fan question. I'm gonna go ahead and ask one of our own questions real quick. How do you come up with character names, and what's the process for that?
Oh, that's an interesting one. So it started off like, Elmendia Dokatal, which shortens to Dia, was the lilting sound of Elven. It was just like, it sounded fun. I think somewhere along the way I liked Dia, and that was a name for a long time. And then whenever I changed it to an elf, I was like, just kind of like play with it and make it sound cool. Some of the characters are somewhat based off of some of the old role-playing crew that I got permission from. I changed all their names in slight ways, but that's still some of it. And then after that, it's just like there's a lot of fun. I had a really close friend was in my D&D game, and close to our age, his professor at college. He was just a really, really great guy. He passed away a couple years ago now, and one of the names was his name. So his name was Jim Hicks, and so I shortened it to Jix, and then made it Jixon. And so he's like an engineering gnome, because he was a physics professor. And so this gnome has the tendency to just go straight psychobabble, or like technobabble, where he just like goes, and then you're just like holding on for your dear life trying to read this really highly technical text that's really fun. But yeah, so it's a lot of fun like that, where I do that. But then I've gone crazy in the recent years of I've got lists of all these different languages. Like, not only do I have both of the Tolkien Elven languages, the Dwarvish as well, but I use Turkish, Old Norse, Arabic, Aramaic. For the dragons, I've actually gone Oriental. I've got Japanese, Chinese, some other stuff. And so what I'm doing is I'll take a phrase and then find pieces of words in other languages, and cram them into one word, and then make it sound cool.
I mean, if it works, it works. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things. A lot of the readers have been like, they want me to read something in Elvish, which is like a mixture of a whole bunch of stuff, and they're always like, that sounds like you're doing some kind of weird cult chant.
But that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I actually feel sorry for my narrator when she gets to book 2. She says she's excited to hit some of those words, but I put a lot of words in there that it's like I kind of know how to pronounce, so I can't wait for her to just hit them.
So wait, you're getting an audio done in it?
Well, I've got a narrator that's doing Opus 1 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're the first one that we've interviewed that is. Well, I know there's other people who are trying to get their books audible, but you're the first one that's really mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty cool.
It's the fun part is a lot of people are scared of it at first, but we found if you can find the right people, you have to go through like an audition process. But the main thing is there are several of people out there that will do it for free startup and do shared commission. And so she's doing it for nothing now, and whenever it goes out there, she gets half the royalties.
Oh,
which
okay.
I'm fine with, because she said there was the Indie Author Revolution did several events. I know of 3 off the top of my head where they actually had narrators. They invited narrators to come in, and they invited authors to give them snippets, and then they just read, invited the narrators back and forth and just read all night long. And so you get to hear them like that. And there was one girl that showed up in the first one, and she didn't read mine, but I heard her, and I'm like, that's really good. And so we did it, and then she's actually been treating it like an actual collaboration. She wants she wants a lot of input on what characters should sound like, and she will go back and forth with me trying to get a character's voice right, which has been really, really, really fun, because having her read book 1 has made me fall back in love with it. And then I did for book 2's release, I had her read a lot of snippets, because I have quotes on bookmarks. There's 12 quotes for book 2, and there's 6 quotes for book 1. She read all 12 quotes for book 2, and she even read several scenes that I put together and have made trailers out of.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
And so, yeah, they're really,
awesome.
really, really good. And I said, the trailers are actually completely made by me, not using AI. I actually opened up Photoshop and just had zooming in on a picture. And then I think I did a fun layer that was pictures of campfires. And then I slowly moved the fire over the thing. It's just whatever I can do, and to make sure that it's not AI, and B, it's still kind of fun and dynamic, and helps the words, I guess, doesn't detract from the words, because the words are so good. I could just put up a blank screen and her read, and it's amazing.
I like that, because I am not a fan of AI at all. I am not a supporter, so
yeah,
that's awesome.
It's so pervasive now, and it's in everything. But in the end, it's for anything I put out there, anything I'm doing, I love the creative journey, which is the number one thing for me. And I just don't want to take away from that. And I, just enjoy, not using it, because it's just fun. I'm having way too much fun writing.
Yeah. What advice would you give someone writing in your genre?
The only advice I ever give is finish the story. So many people stop, edit along the way, or backtrack, try to redo things. And in the end, it's I've often said, the first draft isn't even a foundation, it's a scaffolding. It's sitting on shaky ground. For my first, I always call that the rough draft, and then first revision to first draft. I rewrite the whole thing. I actually go through paragraph by paragraph and completely rewrite it all the way.
I do that too.
Yeah,
she does that.
It takes
goodness
forever.
I'm not the only one.
Yeah, it takes forever, but it's you get to see it all, and you're you change every sentence all the way through it.
You do.
Yeah.
It works.
It does. It works for me. The problem is, I think my revision process is now 7 revisions long, but that includes a beta read, and 2 self reads.
Yeah.
And so it takes a while, but in the end, it's like every time you go through it, the book gets better.
It does.
Yeah, I'm alpha for her why she was doing that. I'm like, why are you rewriting it?
Because it's going to be different.
Just trust my process.
Yeah, you got to trust the process. I know that it's funny too, because I remember, so on the last rewrite, towards the end, I was like starting to, I know I changed something towards the end of one draft, and then it was like they're in the next draft. I'm like, oh, well, there's a change. Oh, well, I got to change that. And so you find those, or there was one in this in the book 3 that I've been revising, where I know later I have a count of things that are happening, and then I found it earlier in the text where the count started. And I'm like, oh, I'll start making notes now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So do you use a functional outline, or was it chaos that just somehow worked?
It started as chaos that somehow worked. So the idea was, so we talked about the character being in a video game. The video game had books, in-game books that you could write yourself. My books that are in the game still exist on people's shelves, which is mind-blowing. Two of those stories I took out and have put into the Ballad in some way. In fact, the second story in book 2 was originally a story I wrote there. And so the idea was I took the character out and was writing, it was actually serial web fiction on a blog. And I got 6 stories in, I was writing the 7th, and I was realizing that I was creating the beginnings of overarching stories. And I'm like, I better stop before I keep making these so I can figure out how to resolve them. Because the original idea was, it ages me really fast. The original idea was Kung Fu with David Carradine. like it was like the idea of like a singer going from town to town and just going on adventures. That was the original idea. And so, I just started making these plots, and I'm like, okay, well, I need to stop. And so I sat back and I realized that I needed 20 stories to make the entire thing happen. And then I was like, well, the opening story wasn't good, so I rewrote one. I completely came up with a new introduction, which is the first story in book 1. And after that, so I see all the different plots, all the different stories, all laid out. 21 was going to be three stories in a book. It was going to be 7. And then sometime last year, I realized that 3 stories were prequels that were set far enough in advance that they had no bearing on the plot. They didn't actively help any of the 3 plots that are kind of overarching. And so I just took them out, and they're going to be novellas that are going to be ebook exclusives until I get all 3 written, and then they're going to be collected into their own book off on the side.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, and so then go back to the first book. The first story that I wrote, the intro story, is it's a funny story all of itself, right? So these were being written on a blog, and so I had to censor them. And so they were all coming out, and they were all kind of bland, and I was just kind of doing it, and it was all fine and good. And when I took them off and I was going to put them in a novel, I'm like, well, I'm not going to hold myself back. I'm going to push my limit. And I did. So much so that once I got to a certain scene that I now call that scene, I was like, I went too far. I've stumbled into something I should not have written, and it was wrong. And so I went and got my wife, and I went, how can I fix this? I've got to pull this back because I went too far. And she was like, no, keep going. It was really good. And I'm just like, what? No. And then people read it and they love it. And I'm like, and my first thought is like, yeah, so Abby's right down there. She knows what I'm talking about. And I will still look at her and go, what's wrong with you? Why do you like that scene? Because I'm highly arachnophobic. So you have that. You have the eroticism. You have all this stuff I was writing so uncomfortable, and I went so far out of bounds. I remember there was a friend of mine that she was actually physically reading the book on her Kindle, and she was like reading, and she was doing it live, and it was fun. And I remember watching her one day when she was reading it, and I knew she was coming on that scene. I was waiting, and she went, and I'm like, what is, okay, she's on that scene now. And then she got to the spice scene that followed it, because there is a traditional spice scene, and she took off her glasses. I'm like, it was like watching a tennis game, and I was just enjoying it. She told me later that she went and she was like, you can do that? You can push yourself beyond what your limits what you think your limits are. And it made her rethink her own writing. And she went back and just started writing her book over again, because she wasn't pushing herself. And so now she's approaching it with there are no limits. She can write whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And that is, so it's fun having that, as now an even more part of the crazy story about me writing that first story.
No, it's amazing with writing how much you can push yourself. And like, you do feel limited, because it's like, am I gonna is this not coming out right? But I don't know. I think it's one of those things where if you don't like it, someone else is going to really love it.
Yeah. In the end, as long as it reads good, and you can connect with the characters, you can push it as far as you want to.
Oh yeah.
And then go way out of bounds, because you never know what people will resonate to. You don't know how it'll affect people. And so that's the reason why I say it so like in coming up in book 3, there's the, I push it to a heavily emotional standpoint. So we've talked about how Dia's 100. She's a woman. She's got all these past traumas, and they come out in the prose. But in Opus 3, her daughter finds her diary, and first person goes through the trauma in detail. And I remember thinking, this is too far. I won't let my wife read it, because she's gone through some heavy trauma and can't experience that kind of thing. So I had somebody else read it as their sensitivity reader, and they're like, you could go further with it if you want. And I'm like, no, it's pretty bad as it is. But being able to do that and being able to put it out there, so it gives me the thing of saying that people aren't alone. People go through trauma. There's good that can come after trauma. So it shows like in the end of book 2, I actually have the National Domestic Violence Hotline in it, because that's one of the reasons why I put it in, was to bring light to that. So yeah, it's crazy circular thing of the stuff you can do. And yeah, revising book 3, like I have to stay hydrated because I cry through a lot of it. It's like I can just like read some of it. I can glance at some of it and just chills go down my spine, and I lock up. It's just rough.
Oh.
Yeah. This is a fan question from earlier. I marked it down. If your readers could visit one place for your book, where should they go?
So like a real life place to visit just to see, or go into the fantasy world? That's the question.
It says in your book, so I'm assuming somewhere in your world.
The place that's most detailed in my mind is her home, which is the up in the trees, and she's actually got like it's always a mansion, because she's a countess and she was given stuff, because she was orphaned really young, and didn't come to the Elven Forest City for a long time. But when she got there, she was given a mansion and a title, and because her parents had that. But now she's turned it into like a wayward home. And so not only do you get to walk out on the balcony and you're like really high up in the trees, like several hundred feet, you've got fairies and a dwarf and a gnome that are down in the basement building stuff. There's, a dark elf blacksmith, just all sorts of craziness going on inside. There's like a kid who's trying to paint with all the stuff going on around him. And then there's a girl that's in her room that's sensitive to light, and she likes writing poetry, and they always have arguments over what art form is the best art form. And just, the absolute insanity of that being her home, and knowing why she's like, I'm just going to go climb a tree. Yeah, but a lot of people would say that definitely a lot of people like the Darkened Deal from book one.
Yeah,
I'm watching
I was
the
Abby
chat.
said the Crossroads, the Darkened Deal.
Yeah, the Darkened Deal is run by Tessa, and that whole scene is just so fun, over the top, and it sets a tone that I don't think I'll ever achieve again in the rest of the series, but it sets a tone. It's so much fun.
Whether it be published or a work in progress, who is your favorite character and why? And can you tell us a little bit about them, like their background and personality?
Right. That is one of the hardest things, because you've got Dia is always the go-to, because there's a lot of me that is Dia, and so it's hard not to just absolutely be in love with that character, because there's so much of me in her. But then Alusha being, a half elf with a wolf goddess trapped in her head. So not only is she raised by wolves and an orphan, but she's got an actual goddess that's in the cloak that talks in her head. So she's got a dialogue in her head at all times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so you got a lot of fun there. I always try to default to the fairies, because the fairies are, like 3 inches tall and just absolutely rambunctious pranksters. Trigard is a lot of fun, because she is a dark elf blacksmith that is older and is a matronly figure, and nothing gets to her, and she's got dry one-liners for everything.
I love that.
Yeah. And so it's like, whenever the fairy's in the room, she just like puts her hand over her tea because there will be glitter that falls on the back of her hand, and she's like, and so it's just like, there's a lot. I can't, but if you have to pick one, it's Dia. Just because 100 years old, she's fallen in love twice. She had a love before that. She is, I always try to get the nomenclature right. She's a lesbian. She had a male relationship early in her life. That's how she got a daughter. It wasn't good. It was like, whenever you read her diary, you get to see that it wasn't what she thought it was through her eyes. See the things that she wrote into her diary that she didn't see. And then fell in love with, and then she was like, after that, she was so hurt by that, she wasn't ever going to love again. And then she met a time traveling blonde with blue eyes that just changed her life. And for the first time, she actually felt like she could trust somebody. So she fell in love, and then they hurt each other. And then she fell in love with the wolf girl. And that relationship's been going on for 17 years.
Wow.
And so I have stories in the background, stories about her entire 100 years. And it's such a up and down and amazing story. Just listen to hers. But then you've got how much it's changed due to the fact that the blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman is a time traveler. And is actively fighting with another time traveler that is actively changing the timeline. So not only do I have 100 years of her history, I have something that happened in another timeline 3,000 years in the future. I have all this stuff, and I know how she reacts through all of it. And she's got lots of secrets and lots of fun stuff that get to be revealed along the way that I hope people will enjoy. Yeah.
What is the hardest part of the writing process for you?
Marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's all there is. I love writing. Editing has its own fun issues. It can be a lot, but I have the actual like body dysmorphia thing. Like I absolutely hate seeing myself, and I'm right there.
I feel that.
Like I have to know where mirrors are, because if it sneaks up on me, like it will visibly make me sick. I also hate hearing my own voice back. So luckily, the sad part is I'm a talker. I love talking. I love telling stories. I love it all. But if you record me and I hear it, I'm done. But I have to like every day I have to post something on TikTok because you know, it's a wonderful place and no one should ever go anywhere else. But it literally, it's like, it's the hardest part. And so I have to say things and do things and then put it out there, and I look at it and I'm like, that's the most horrid thing I've ever done in my entire life. And then I have to remember, no, that's just my brain. It's not really that bad. And then I hit send and I'm like, oh gosh. Yeah, every day. So
yeah. No, but I think you're sorry, go ahead.
No, it's that, between that and just the sheer fact that it's all selling the book. It's, you know, it's no longer, you know, I do go live 3 times a week just to kind of chat. And a lot of it's supposed to be buy the book, but literally it's just, I will talk about anything and just have chats. It feels
at least
weird.
You have more confidence in that area, because I had such a hard time doing lives. I was only able to do them while rereading my book, but I don't think I could just sit there and just talk to people like that.
Yeah. It's the one thing is, it's like I'm kind of like, I'm in between an introvert and an extrovert. I do get run down.
That's me.
But I love telling stories. And so as long as chat gives me a question that I can run with, and then I can make a story, or I can tell a story, or we can talk about a story, I'm done. It's impossible to shut me up.
Fan question: what part of the book came to you first? Was it the characters, the plot, the world, or a single scene?
It'll always be the character. As I said, she came from the video game, and it was literally just like me going through the thing and going, okay, I like this shape of face, I like the short hair, I like the ears, I want her in green. Like so I was in a rating group in the role, and there was like the role-playing community had like a couple, and I got to be in one, and I remember like there were a pair of pants that was like dropped by this weird, it was a rare drop by a frog king at the end of a dungeon, and I went through that thing like 30 times trying to get those pants. And it was the only pair of green pants in the game. And so it's just like, and so that was the beginning of it. It was just like, you know, getting in there and seeing the drama that everybody had, and knowing that I was adjacent and a part, because I was the rock star that stood on stage. But yeah, that was the absolute beginning of it, because you have such a wonderful character in Dia, especially once you start adding in the poems and her, you know, making her backstory. And then after that, it was like you had to take her out of that game and build an entire new world around her. Yeah.
How has your writing evolved since you began publishing?
That's been huge. So the first book came out 10 years ago. And
really?
It was, I was in college with my wife at the time. We were pursuing an incredibly hard degree. And I was still like in the process of like, I was wanting to do something different than the blog. And so I wrote the book, and I literally just like wrote it in between classes in this computer labs and all sorts of stuff. And I just hit publish. I was just like, I got it. Woo, I did it. And at the end of the day, it had problems. It had issues. And I still, even though I've had 5 revisions of it since then, I still see a lot of the issues. I know that I want to go back and rewrite it someday, as like if I ever do a special edition. My joke is I'll always say, if the series ever gets that big, to do a special edition, but then people are like, this is too good. So that happened. And then over the next 10 years, I wrote I wrote book 2 very early, and then I gave it to a friend, and they were like, she read it, was technically an alpha read, and she read it and said there's something wrong. And it took her a little while, but then she realized that the person carrying the POV, which was Alusha, a half-elf raised by wolves with a goddess in her head and can do all this stuff, was too much like Dia. Because I was putting too much of myself in the character, and so that caused an entire rewrite. And then somewhere else along the way, I realized, so there was the trope, a bad trope in the first book, is the narrator in the first story is very, I cataloged it as male voyeuristic. It was written that way because of the eroticism being uncomfortable. I wanted it pointed out in your face, that kind of thing. That, I never lost it. And I didn't realize it. And so, especially when it moved to Alusha's point of view, she's a straight girl for all of it. She only sapphic because of Dia. She falls in love with Dia, but still likes men. So they have a very complicated relationship. I'm waiting for people in the chat to go like, how it's funny that she goes gay for Dia, but it was one of those things. It was like, it was really just feeling love versus feeling attraction. And that whole thing made me redo the entire book. Like, I don't know, that was like the 4th time. I was like, I've got to rewrite this to take that out. And it made me realize that I am, cis white dude, that I was putting too much of that in, and it didn't help the story. And by doing that, I became better at it. And then I realized along the way also that it was like the goddess that's in her head, even though presents as female, it is a they, them, because gods and goddesses, those words are interchangeable. And neither fit. And so I had to go learn how to really define that for myself, being a Gen Xer. And it's helped me immensely. See the world better, understand my friends better, especially being in the rural Oklahoma area that I am, and made me better at being the ally and the feminist that I've always wanted to be, because who I believe I am in my core, because I those are the values that really speak to me, and seeing it not reflected in my own writing was something that I had to fix. Right. And so astronomical as far as evolution goes.
That's amazing though. Like, for you to, like, how do I describe it? I think it's just amazing that you're able to look at it and take it as, yes, this can change, but also still keeping the bits that you still want in there to still portray the character how you want.
Yeah, exactly. It was a lot of that. I said it was just one of those things. It's like, I mean, it seems so simple on the surface. When you change to a different point of view, you have to change the point of view. And then it also makes you realize that whenever I did that, of how much, things that shouldn't be there was filtering in. And it was weird. It was one of those things that's like I did a lot of self-reflection in the past 10 years. And by doing so, I'm more ready for the rest of the series. Because book 3 is currently in revisions. Book 4 is already written in rough draft format. So 5 and 6 are coming, and it's just, I feel them now instead of just know how they're going to be.
That's good.
Yeah.
How do you personally handle feedback and criticism?
I love it. Like as long as it's good. Like the criticism, like there's like I have a couple of 1-star reviews that are like, WTF did I just read? Or there was one of the ones that really got me was there was one that obviously didn't read the book, but they still said, obviously male writer doesn't get women. And then I remember the same day I read that, the same day, one of my friends who was reading book 2 early came to me, like sent me a message and went, I just read this scene that was, it was, so Alucia and Dia, 2 completely different characters. They have to get dressed up. Hey, Narcy, she's the one that did it. Did it with Janelle as well, but Narcy was the one. It was like 2 girls that have to get dressed up to go to a party. They have to put on ball gowns. Alucia, who's a girl who's been in the wild most of her life, wears leathers and animal skins, puts on a gown, stands in front of the mirror and goes, oh my gosh, I'm actually pretty. Whereas Dia puts on the gown and goes, no, this ain't happening. And then they have the girl conversation of like, no, you look really great. You're totally pulling it off. And so that conversation happened. And she messaged me and went, I've had this exact conversation with girlfriends before, like getting dressed up or not feeling comfortable or actually feeling pretty in the gown and that kind of stuff. And I was just like, I wrote that. I didn't give it a second thought. I thought that was like a common everyday thing women went through. And apparently it is, but it's also a big deal, especially on a day where somebody says you don't get women. And I'm like, do I not really? So yeah, it's beyond that. I love criticism. I love people talking to me, telling me, hey, I'd have done this different. I love that because it helps. I want to expand my craft and I love seeing what other people see. Yep.
I'm the same way because like I have a female and male protagonist in my quartet series I'm writing, and I've been told by my beta readers, Wren being one, I happen to write my male characters a little bit better than I do my females because I resonate with my male protagonist a little bit more than I do my female. Right. But I'm obviously not a male. So
yeah,
I mean, it's like
I mean, that's the thing. It's like I've often said, it's like I joke, but there is a lot of me that is Dia, and I'm 6'4" with long hair, and she is not. And I can't. I mean, people tell me I can hold a tune, but I'm not a singer and I can't dance at all. So she's able to perform on stage. So there's enough difference there, but it is like a thing that I completely resonate with her, a lot of it. So yeah, it's fun.
So this is our last question before we end. What kind of point of view do you prefer writing in?
I enjoy what I have is like a third person omniscient that is, I write it in such a way that you're outside the character looking in, and so you're getting their emotions, their stuff, and every now and then if it needs to, it can shift to somebody else just for a quick thing if it needs to. And so I'm able to play with that. I will do a hard scene break if it's fully switches, but I do like being able to have the omniscience to look. But beyond that, I mean, all of them have their joy. Like being able to write in first person can be very powerful. It can also be very fun if you want to have unreliable narrator. But yeah, I enjoy the omniscience of that most because you get a clearer picture of everything going on, and I show you what I think you need to see kind of stuff, and it controls the narrative better to me.
Yeah. I write the same point of view, so
yeah,
I hear you there.
Yeah, it was fun in book 3.
Oh, I got a phone call.
It was fun in book 3 where I did the thing of like, there's the diary, so that everybody's reading it in third person, but the diary is in first. And so the diary scenes are chunks on the inside, and then every now and then it'll pull into the 2 that are reading it. It's fun. Hey, Christina. So yeah, it's one where I really play with it, and I think that I like the idea of like being able to do that, being able to see how people are reacting to reading it and then getting the full first person of the narrative of the diary. Yeah.
There's a book book I read, I think it's like Wayward Witches or something like that by Amelia Hart. And there's 3 different point of views. One is by first person, and then the other 2 are third limited, I think. Wow. And it was very interesting.
Yeah. I think I've seen that cover pop up because it's like there's been people
green.
Yeah,
it's green with a crow on it.
Yeah, I think so. Unless it was another book that was titled similarly. But yeah, that's interesting. Like, it's fun whenever authors push the limit like that of trying something. Yeah.
So what other platforms do you promote on? I know you have TikTok. Do you also do like Instagram, Facebook? Like, where do you go?
So because I've always been on a lot of other programs, so I am on the Gram, I am on Book Faces, I am on X, I am on Blue Sky. You should never go to any of those because TikTok cares about our safety and we should always stay here. I don't post anything that I don't post here. So it always, I start here, I post here, and then I'll cross post everywhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing when I decide to post, so I totally get that. It's so much easier.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit. I always hate it because it's like, you hit send, and then you have to wait for it to download to the phone, and then you have to go over to the Gram, and then you have to upload it, and you have to wait for that, and then that cross posts to the other place, and then you have to go back to TikTok and go open up and click on the X button, they go into there and cross. It's just like, oh, man, grief. People.
And then if you're doing it on X, you have to manage your word count and then all your hashtags.
Yep. And learn how it's like, that says and, okay, delete, ampersand.
To get that out of here, we don't need it.
It's like,
I'm new to Twitter. I don't even know how to operate it, so
it's just like you just want to. The only problem with it is it's like, okay, I've got to cram this into a certain amount of letters, and just so you start learning. You go back to Leet Speak, back in the 90s where we were all like to you and all that. You just start using letters and numbers to describe everything.
Yep. Well, is there anything else that you would like to add before we officially end it here?
I honestly can't think of anything, but it's just because I said it's been such a wild ride. The easiest thing to add would be they're both available on the TikTok shop and somewhere else that might be linked through a biology or something. It's the same price, but still, you get, whenever you buy my book from there, you get it signed with bookmarks and stickers, and it comes wrapped and stamped with a custom wax seal. And the fun thing about that is the way I wrap it, the sealing wax actually keeps it together. There's no tape involved.
Oh, that's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. I love doing those, and my wife also adds a whole bunch of extra stickers just because it's I don't know, we actually love doing it still. So it's just like folding it just right and stamping it down, and it's one of those things that do make it a little bit special, and I do personalize it when people ask. So
fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. The only other thing is, if anybody is in the Fort Smith, Arkansas region on Thursday, I'm doing a signing at Bookish in Fort Smith, and then I'm actually traveling up to Kansas City on Saturday the 6th to do a adult book fair with Faded Pages Bookstore up there.
Oh, fun.
Missouri or Kansas side?
Missouri. It's like Belton.
I'm Missouri, so
that's
why I was asking. I'll be in Herman that weekend because apparently everything's falling on the 6th. But I have a wedding I gotta be in. But I'll be out that way.
Things. Yeah, there's a new bookstore opening up in Oklahoma, like to the west of us. There's like all sorts of things. It's like I was like shocked, like whenever I was like, she's like, because I did the book release party with her on TikTok, and then she was like, maybe you want to come up here and do that, and we're like, yeah, sure. And then like the next day I was like, oh, that's the 6th. Oh, that's the 6th. That's the 6th as well. Wow.
Everything's the 6th.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thank you everybody so much for watching. Thank you, Dan, for being with us today and for letting us interview you. This was the Author Sesh Corner. Please follow us on YouTube. We upload on YouTube. We upload on Spotify audio. Please follow us on TikTok. We need to get to 100 followers on the Author Sesh Corner to be able to do more of these interviews on that channel. But otherwise, leave, like, follow, comment, share. Anything you do helps out. But otherwise, as I said probably the 3rd time already, we will see you guys next time.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.